Podcast. 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 Yeah, welcome to another episode of the Racer X Exhaust Podcast. I'm Jason Weigandt. I just sang the theme song live. If you're watching on YouTube, you probably saw it, or did we put the logo? I guess we put the logo over it. Sorry. Yes, you can watch this now in video form if you go to Racer X Motocross or Supercross News. That's our long-running YouTube channel, or maybe you're just listening to this right now. If you're driving, I recommend listening only. YouTube in the car is for kids who aren't driving. Today, we're going to talk about Cooper Webb and the ebb and flow of his outdoor campaign. Why are we focusing so much on Webb? Well, because it actually flows into two much larger topics. A, the Aldon Baker program, which he has now left. And then that leads to the larger topic of, is the Aldon Baker program good? It is funny that this is still a discussion after 20 years of success, like no one else in his position has ever been able to produce. But there is still always the, is it the way to go? Is it not the right way to go? Is it too difficult? Is it too rigid? We will discuss all of that here because we have Cooper talking about it in the post-race press conference after he finished on the podium over the weekend in Indiana. And it also gives us the topic of major bike changes, which dovetails nicely into the, should the teams be forcing the riders and say, like, we know how to set up the bikes, this is what works, trust us, or should the rider be able to say, no, just trust me, I know what I need, give me what I want? The answer to all these things is it depends. So you can just turn off the pod, log out of YouTube right now if you want, or if you want to hear a more detailed analysis of this and not just hear that it depends, we'll talk about why in this episode. I'm Jason Weigandt, of course, the Exhaust Podcast brought to you by Yoshimura. Yoshimura Exhaust Systems, you'll see them, you can almost see it on that Jet Lawrence bike from last year right behind me. It's still on his bike now as he closes in on a championship. He's got an RS12 on his 2021 Honda CRF 250R. He will also have one on the 2022 as they have an exhaust. If you're getting one of those bikes available soon, go to yoshimura-rd.com to check that out. They're taking orders now. We mention all the time they have a bit of a head start on the Hondas because they work with the factory teams, both here and even the Works team with Tim Geiser in Europe. They also have exhaust systems for KTMs and Husqvarnas and Suzukis and Kawasaki's, Yamahas as well. The RS12 is awesome. Check it out. Again, yoshimura-rd.com. Our show also brought to you by Cardo Systems. Up to 1 mile of range with a Cardo Pack Talk communicator. Riders like Ricky Carmichael rely on it for street riding entertainment or on adventure bikes, as well as a training tool at the track. With Cardo Systems' industry-leading mesh technology, you and your fellow riders can keep in touch with each other. It really works as a good tool. Say your kid is riding and you're trying to explain things to them. They don't have to pull over and have you tell them. They can hear as you're riding. And then obviously on the street, if you're in an adventure ride or a dual sport ride with your buddies, it really helps. All Cardo Pack Talk communicators are fully waterproof and dirt-proof, feature sound by JBL. Rider to rider, coach to coach, mechanic to mechanic, you can trust Cardo Systems, the pro's choice. And you can trust me to give you a discount, 15% off. If you go to cardosystems.com, just type in RX15 in the checkout area, and we'll give you 15% off. That's RX15, and we'll give you 15% off. Code is valid on all products except Pack Talk Black. We'll talk on X Maps, our other sponsor, in a moment, but let's talk about Cooper Webb here a little bit. Okay, look, it is so hard to classify how his season has gone. Wins Supercross, does it in convincing fashion. Eli Tomac, not as good as he used to be. And Ken Roczen has his heart and soul ripped out and served on a platter to him by Webb throughout most of the indoor campaign. So it seems obvious that the guard has changed and Webb is just the guy now. He's just the best guy. Normally, that carries over to outdoors, but he's not even close to the best guy. I mean, like literally a minute to a minute and a half away from the best guys for the majority of the beginning of Lucas Oil Pro Motocross. Now, we tried to give him a little bit of running room. Maybe the bike wasn't quite right. They had a week off between rounds 2 and 3. Maybe they'd get it right then. Well, it didn't really improve. Maybe he had the Supercross hangover. He'd get his outdoor legs back under him. Didn't improve. They had 2 weekends off around the Loretta's time between Washougal and Unadilla. Didn't improve. kind of the die was cast. It's just so weird to see him getting 7th and 8th and battling to just be in the top 10 and getting starts and practically holding these guys up. Guys that he's battled for a long time, that he's normally either matching or beating in Supercross, just blowing his doors off outdoors. Until finally now, over the weekend, a much better ride, a much, much better ride. And Webb is on the podium. 2 significant things there. A, it gets us access to Webb in the post-race media conference. We'll use that here to get Webb's, as always, very honest and unfiltered thoughts on a lot of things going on in his program right now. But it also is a nice yardstick. I know that a lot of riders are out injured. We don't have Zach Osborne. We don't have Sean Cerullo. We don't have Barsha. Plessinger's been hurt, things like that. But Webb did beat Chase Sexton and Ken Roxon at this race. He was not going to beat them at any other round this year if they didn't have problems. He just beat them this time. That's a significant step. He was also a lot closer to Ferrandis than he had been at any time this year. Ferrandis didn't have his best race, but it was like Ferrandis got 10% worse at this event, and Webb got like 70% better. So we have a little insight into the bike change. We'll start with that because Webb dropped this bomb on the podium.
Hey, I'm going to ask you the same question. Is it a sigh of relief for you?
Oh, absolutely. It's awesome. I felt like myself today, and we made some crazy changes. I changed the frame this week, and I thought Ian Roger were going to possibly murder me, but told him to trust me, and I feel like today was a much better day. Stepped in the right direction, on the podium and running with the leaders, led some laps, so I'm stoked. Wish, obviously, we could have been here all season, but I'll take it, man. Today was awesome. Get on the podium, it's great. These fans were awesome. The track's great, and really want to give it up to the Lord, the whole Red Bull KTM team, Thor, Alpine Star, Bell Helmets, 100%. My mechanic, Carlos, my practice mechanic, Austin, he busted his butt these last few weeks, and all these fans are awesome, and my wife, too. Thanks. And happy birthday to Roger DaCosta.
Cooper, one more question. How do you think you can build off this podium finish for the final 2 rounds?
Yeah, I feel some confidence again, and I feel good with confidence, that's for sure. So we'll see where it takes us, but one step at a time, and we'll be fighting these last 2 for sure.
Okay, well, that's interesting. That's a juicy nugget right there. Roger DaCosta and Ian Harrison, the team manager and the racing director there for the KTM group, they were going to murder him, says Webb. Let's get a little more information on this. By the way, we found out exactly what it is. There is a frame brace or gusset that KTM runs on the race bikes that Webb requested to be removed. So he gets a little more, not too much, but a little more elaborate on this process in the press conference. Anthony, take it away.
Awesome. Thank you, Weege. Anthony Stanzoni here, MotoOnline.com. I'll go to Cooper Webb. Cooper, you mentioned a change in the chassis that you thought you might get murdered for. Can you elaborate a little bit on that, or is that behind closed doors? And what did it do for you today?
Obviously, we made a big change this week and did a frame change, and it seemed to be a lot better. I'd been kind of struggling, obviously, with some setup, and this seemed to help me a lot. And wasn't ideal to have to ask the team for it and hear the responses, but sometimes you just got to trust your gut and know what you feel as a rider. And so it was good. Obviously the team made it happen, and we were able to get a really good result today, and felt a lot more like myself.
So I do have a little analysis of how this bike thing came to be. And this is, again, why it's interesting. It's not just a Cooper Webb thing. It's not just a KTM thing. It doesn't make sense to go nuts over a guy that has 1 podium outdoors now. And even though, yes, the confidence, as he said, in the podium is growing, he went 1-1 at Millville in 2019. And we thought, oh, Cooper Webb, once he has confidence, look out. The next race was Washougal, and he was back to not winning motos again. So I don't know if this is a guarantee of like a massive breakthrough, but taking a gusset or a brace off the frame is pretty big. But here is why this is an interesting topic. There is always this push-pull, right? Between the team should give the riders whatever they want. The riders know best. The riders have a feeling that they're searching for. Shouldn't they just listen to the rider all the time? But then you'll also hear, look, we know the engineers that designed this motorcycle. We have all this data from all these riders around the world all these years. We know, like, oh, no. You might think you have an idea of what we should try. That's already been tried 50 times. It doesn't work ever. So that's why there's always this push-pull. When do you trust the rider, and when does the rider have to trust the team? Now, right now, score one for the riders, because apparently Webb asked for something the team didn't want to do, and he did get better after they did it. But it does not always work that way. The best example ever, it's very hard to argue against the success that Ryan Villopoto and the Monster Energy Kawasaki team had together, right? Whatever they did was right, because not only was he one of the best ever, but I'd also say, honestly, you could probably claim that the Villopoto Kawasaki thing, they might have outkicked their own coverage. I don't know if anyone at Villopoto pegged to be a 4-time Supercross champ, twice as many as James Stewart, twice as many as Chad Reed. The only other person in history that's won 4 in a row is Jeremy McGrath, right? Did anyone expect Ryan Villopoto to be that good? Okay, so obviously all those puzzle pieces, all those things that have to come together, they must have done those all right. And I remember one time I was working on a story and I was talking to the Cowie guys about bike setup, and Villopoto, I was at some event, right? And Villopoto's there and he's cracking a bunch of beers as usual. He's half cocked, pretty hammered, whatever. And he just starts venting. And he's like, what? You're going to tell the people in Japan who engineered this bike that you know better than them? What are you, stupid? And then to elaborate and get more specific, he said he knew from the team that Kawasaki's are bikes. They're not going to be the best cornering bikes. They're not going to be the most nimble. But boy, can they go around the outside, and boy, are they stable. So what Villopoto could have done was try to keep nudging the team to make a bike that could turn better, or he could just play to the bike's strengths. And Villopoto actually told me, he's like, me get inside of Dunge's KTM in a Supercross? Never. I was never going to be able to make this bike do that. So I was just going to go faster around the outside, because that's what the Kawasaki was built to do. It was the perfect example of the rider listening to the team, and the team saying, look, man, this direction you want to go, you're mad that you can't get inside of Dungey in corners. What we'd have to do to make that happen will ruin the motorcycle. So let's play with what we got based on the data we have and the way the bike was designed to be ridden. Now, we have a little bit of an example of that with KTM this year. So I had a conference call with Ian Harrison, the team manager, about 3 weeks ago, and I'm asking him about how did the bikes end up being this far off? Marvin and Webb are struggling so badly. And he said they didn't start with last year's outdoor settings. They started with what the MXGP team told them to use from Europe. While they were racing Supercross here, they were racing motocross over there. They're obviously advancing, getting better every week. They ride motocross year round. Why would you not use that information? And then they go and struggle at the first couple of races. And Marv and Webb are saying, this is not the feeling that we want. And then they're going to Europe and saying this shouldn't work, but Europe's saying, yes, it should. And then it actually led to a push-pull between KTM here and KTM there. And do they listen to the riders, or do they listen to the engineers in Austria who claim, we already know what you used last year. Trust us, this is better. And that became the push-pull. And what I thought was really interesting that Ian Harrison told me, he said, the first couple races, you could say we're sorting things out or we're getting outdoors figured out. But eventually you run out of excuses. You're doing badly. The bosses back home aren't happy with the lack of podiums, the lack of wins. No chance you're going to win a title this year. And then when you say we're actually going to go further and further away from what you are recommending, that gets kind of difficult. So I think that's the internals that they were fighting. And I've heard that they've run various different setups sourced from various different MXGP riders on KTMs throughout the year. And it has solved things for some people. I've heard that the Justin Barsha, he had a big breakthrough. Remember, he got much better at midseason and won at Millville. Some of that stuff did come from the MXGP people. Some of the, hey, why don't you try this? Why don't you try that? That worked. It obviously didn't work for everyone. So it becomes really difficult to decipher, when is a rider just asking for stuff out of left field? There's no chance it's going to work. And when is he actually moving in the right direction for him? Now, only he knows exactly what he's feeling on the motorcycle. That's probably one of the most frustrating things, right? As a motocross race team, you can't use data and telemetry and simulators to a degree that you can, say, in car racing. But for every, let's think about it this way. For every Webb asking for something radical, there's a Villopoto staying within the box, within the window, and succeeding that way. So that's what makes this such a hard thing to solve. And that's why I say the real answer for this is it depends. And right now, Webb has a check mark because he made the huge change to the bike and it was better. But you people don't want to talk about bikes, right? You don't want to talk about bikes. We want to talk about people. We don't want to talk about frame braces, settings from Europe. Let's talk about the juicy stuff. the Aldon Baker stuff. I'll get to it in a second, but let's throw out a shout to Onyx Maps. They've been a part of us for a long time on a variety of our podcasts. Don't forget our race review podcast, by the way, that we do every Sunday night. If you're listening to my podcast, but not that, where me, Mathis, and JT break it down, what planet are you on? That's the best thing we do. And Onyx Maps sponsors that as well. Onyx Maps, go to onyxmaps.com. There's 500,000 miles of mapped out trails, both public and private lands. I'll tell you what's open. There's several trails, a lot of them, well, they'll give you details. Let's say it's a long ride and you need to know where to camp, or where there's hotels, or there's gas nearby. They'll do that. Comes in handy if you're a mountain bike guy, a hiker. It's actually originally developed, I believe, for hunting. And you can download the maps so you can store them on your phone so you can still use them even when you're out of cell service. Know where to go, whether you're a side-by-side guy, an ATV guy, a Jeep guy, a mountain bike guy, of course, a dirt bike guy, with Onyx Maps. Go to onyxmaps.com or Onyx Off-Road in the App Store. Onyx Off-Road in the App Store or onyxmaps.com. Now, the Aldon Baker thing. I think we'd all heard that Cooper Webb had left the Aldon Baker's factory and been riding at the 83 compound, which is the new name for Chad Reed's old riding facility. I think that's Dade City, Florida, more on the Tampa side compared to Central Florida where Baker is. But we hadn't really heard too much about it. If you're KTM, I don't think there's a surprise. They would like their riders to stay with Aldon Baker. They believe in the program. Not only did they help fund it, and what I've always heard from Aldon, they did not pay him directly. They just said, sink all the money in the facility. We guarantee you will have 4 riders, and the income that thus brings to you, we'll guarantee you 4 riders. If the rider quits, we will pay you. If the rider doesn't quit, we don't have to, but we guarantee you 4 riders, Aldon. So keep doing what you're doing. Keep building this world-class facility. It benefits us. And it's hard to argue with the benefits. We remember where Cooper was before he switched to Aldon Baker and KTM, 2018, and then how much better he got in 2019. One of the most drastic turnarounds we've ever seen in the sport. And then we could talk about Villopoto and Dunge and Stu and Carmichael and all the other guys that work for Aldon. Yeah, you can pick like 3 guys who didn't win a title that worked for him. We haven't seen anyone leave the Aldon program and get better. But we also know that it comes with a downside, and that is burnout. Now, this is just as hard for a team to decipher as the bike changes. It's the easy out, right? It's the easy out to say that you're tired or you're fatigued or you're burnt out. And just like the rider is the only one that really knows what he's feeling about the changes he's asking for the motorcycle, only the rider knows if that is true. If you're the team, you listen to what the rider says, but you've got to decipher. Is he really burnt out? Is he really tired? Is he really fatigued? Is it really too much? Or does he just not want to work that hard? Does he think that he could get the same results by putting in less work and having more fun? And let's be honest, if you're a fan of sports, you don't really care about how much fun your team has. You just want them to win. And that is the job of these teams. So they are trying to separate the fact from the fiction. I don't think it's a surprise. If you're KTM, your riders training with Aldon have had great success. You probably don't suggest that they leave. So Cooper, I would assume, had to fight, scratch, and claw for this. He's no longer with Aldon, and we finally get a chance to hear about that. And yes, he did utter the words burnout and even essentially saying he was thinking about retiring. Dun, dun, dun. We know that's the downside of the Baker program because we know how early Carmichael and Villopoto and Dungy retired. They were basically about 26, 27 years old. That's pretty drastic. Webb's about 3 years, not just younger, but 3 years shorter into his pro career than them. So this would be very drastic for him to want to leave. But it's pretty interesting how this worked out. Now, by the way, I did ask Ian Harrison, and he said he still believes in the Baker program. He has to because it's worked so well in the past. But they're going to let Coop try this. Coop does leave it a little bit open-ended to see where the future will be. By that, he doesn't mean he's leaving KTM. He's just not saying right now, I don't think he wants to get into the Supercross 2022 prep story yet.
Yeah, I mean, this field is extremely stacked, like you said. It's and it's totally different. You know, Supercross is a whole nother animal than motocross. So you know, it's tough. Obviously, when you're in the Supercross, you're all in, and you don't really prepare maybe as much as you should for outdoors and stuff like that. But yeah, I think it's just been a combination of made some changes with my program. Did trying to do testing and riding while you're trying to get motos in, and just kind of finding that mix. But I feel like right now being comfortable on your bike is key, as fast as this class is and as fast as everyone's going. So yeah, I think it's just a combination of things, but obviously for me it was a lot better today, and it's been getting slowly better and better and better, but today I felt like was a big breakthrough.
And Cooper, if I could just follow up, I'm sorry, I know you're super competitive. How do you sort of internalize that you're not on the podium as you have been, weekly or more often on Supercross? Is that incredibly difficult for you to sort of digest and work with, or is that just you take that as part of the challenge or a learning curve?
No, I mean, it sucks, to be completely honest. When you go from winning a lot and being on the podium almost every weekend to, I think 8th at the first round or whatever, it's shitty for sure. So it's been hard. I've been trying to, keep a positive mindset and keep working hard and get better. I mean, like you said, being a competitive guy, I feel like I know where I can be when things are right, and Supercross or motocross. So like I said, obviously still got some work to do in the motocross side of things, but I feel like being in the top 5 and being a competitor like I at least was today was nice, and gave me some confidence. So yeah, I'm stoked with how today went and looking to see how it goes from here.
Thank you.
Steve Mathis, we'll go to you next.
Another question for Coop. Sorry, everybody, but Coop, you mentioned making your changes to your program, and you're riding at 83 Compound, Chad's old place. What do you like about it? What's been the refreshing change for you? What have you been enjoying being over there with the Lawrences and Savachi, Bogle, all those guys? What's been cool about it?
Yeah, so I made that change after Red Bull National, and I think for me, I just was, on the edge of being completely burned out, and not sure how much longer I really wanted to race, to be honest. And so it's just been a good change for me, being able to ride with Jet Hunter. They're super fast and talented, and just kind of bring some new life, guys that are excited to ride. And I feel like we push each other and I can learn from them. And yeah, Joey's really great during the week, and Justin's fun to be around and stuff. So I think it was mainly just a change of pace. I felt like I had done the same thing for 3.5 years, and I needed something else. So anyway, I'm not sure where it's all going to lead from here, but so far, since I've been there, I've been super happy with things. And like I said, slowly improving and getting better with my riding and technique, and still working hard and getting the quality riding and training in and stuff. So yeah, it's been good. And it's nice to, when you have results like this, have it pay off a little bit.
Thank you.
Next, we'll go to Nick.
Thanks, Jason. Let's stick with Cooper Webb. Sorry, guys, we'll keep the trend going. But Cooper, just going back to what you said then, getting burnt out, is that something of getting burnt out with Aldon's program? We've seen so many things with like Dungey, with Villopoto. That's pretty much the exact words they use. Was it just you needed a change, or was it the program was starting to tire you? What really was the fatiguing issues behind it?
I mean, I don't obviously I've had great success, I think, and I don't have any issues or regrets or anything. It was a great program. I just think for me, like I said, doing the same thing year after year, and it's obviously rewarding, and Supercross and stuff, I've always done really well, and it was great while I was there. I just think for me, I was at that point in my career where I just needed a change. And like those guys alluded to, I'm only 25 years old, and to be having thoughts of retirement is crazy. So just felt like I needed a change, and I'm still super competitive, like you said, and have a great team behind me that are super hard workers and want to win just like I do. So we're gonna get a super good program headed forward, and looking forward to the new challenges ahead.
I'm going to have a question here for Cooper Webb. We've talked about the bike and the program and all that, but then I've heard some people say, look, your strength in Supercross is cutting low in the corners and going inside, which isn't something you can really do on outdoor tracks. Is it something about your riding style you've had to actually work on as well to turn your strengths from Supercross into something that works outdoors?
Yeah, for sure. I mean, obviously in the 250s, I was able to win an outdoor title and stuff. So, I mean, yeah, I mean, Supercross has definitely come more natural to me, and the way I ride and everything, I think it's definitely come easier. So that was one of the things too. You know, I felt like I needed to work on how these guys ride, you know, really carrying a lot of momentum, a lot more standing, a lot more outsides. And yeah, so obviously it's a learning curve, and it takes time, you know, it doesn't happen overnight. And so yeah, hopefully I can continue to improve my outdoor riding. And like I said, I mean, I still feel like I'm a good outdoor rider, but Supercross definitely comes more natural. But yeah, we'll continue to try to, you know, add to our program and try to get better in motocross as well.
So as I said, Cooper Webb, he's not leaving the KTM team. He has a multi-year deal. He still has more time on his contract with them. I think he just doesn't want to bring up, we'll worry about can he win the Supercross title, not working with Aldon Baker thing. Worry about that in like the December press conferences. I just don't think he wants to tackle that particular topic right now, but it is going to be a massive topic, because if you look back at the 20 years that Baker has been in this game, the majority of the titles have gone to his riders. And again, no one has ever left and has done better without it. Now, there are so many folks that will say like the diet's too strict and you have to ride at one track all the time. That is too strict. But then there are others who will say that is the job. The job is to be an elite athlete, and you have to do whatever it takes to be the best. It's not designed to be fun. It's not designed to be enjoyable. Maybe we can make an argument that this sport is a little bit different, because the mental side of being relaxed and wanting to be there and wanting to take these risks is really hard to put down on a piece of paper or figure out through data, right? So maybe the rider just being happy, as long as he's putting in a good amount of work, still helps. But we are seeing a splintering of the idea that somehow Baker was able to pull off for a long time, which was having elite riders who are going to be battling each other for race wins and titles, riding with each other. It is starting to break up. Webb has now moved to the 83 compound. That is where Jason Anderson was. Remember, Anderson left Baker's, then Anderson went there. Now Anderson has gone to Tyler Rattray's place, which is also right near Baker's, and Tyler used to work at Baker's. Try to keep up with that. And I talked to Tyler about it at Loretta's, and he's like, it's just too stressful, man. It's just too stressful to try to have 3 or 4 big name 450 riders all riding and training together. At one point, Baker was denying that there was tension between Musquin and Anderson back in 2018, when they both were would-be favorites for the Supercross title, along with, say, Tomac, maybe Roxon. But they knew that they were going to have to go through each other to win the title. And it did turn out that there was tension there. And I cannot believe that Marvin was cool with Webb coming on board when they had some serious heat from the 250 days, and then Webb ends up winning the title in 2019. Just a lot of egos to massage there. So it's still going to go on. We believe Aaron Plessinger is headed to Red Bull KTM, so I think he'll be a Baker's Factory guy. Marvin is returning, so I believe he'll still be a Baker's Factory guy. The hot rumor is that Malcolm Stewart is moving to the Rockstar Husqvarna team, and I think he will be a Baker's Factory guy. And lately, they've kind of had 3 450 guys and 1 250 rider, RJ Hampshire. So they might still have 4 riders there. But the dam has broken here. Their best guy, the Supercross champ, has left. We've never seen this scenario before. Yes, Webb will keep riding for KTM. Yes, Webb will do everything he can to try to win, and KTM will do everything they can to help him win. But it is certainly an intriguing topic. This is uncharted waters. It's not something we've seen before. And the push-pull, it goes back to that thing where I said, well, the teams can't always give the rider everything they want. The riders sometimes have to listen to the team. You never know who's really telling the truth or who has the right angle here. Same thing with the training thing. Is the rider trying to not do the training because he just doesn't want to, or because he knows it's not actually what is best for him? And when I did talk to Ian Harrison a few weeks ago, he said, look, I think from what I've heard, by the way, one of the big sticking points is that when you're at Baker's, you only ride at Baker's. You don't mix it up. You don't ride other tracks. And I think Webb wanted to be able to do that. But point I heard from Ian at KTM is, look, dude, if you play tennis, you probably play in the same practice court every day. If you play the NBA, you probably practice on the same practice court every day. And even if you did use different practice facilities, it's still a basketball court. It's the same width. It's wood. The basketball hoops are 10 feet high. At least in Supercross and Motocross, if you rode the same track every day, the track is still slightly different. The dirt, the weather, the track changes every lap. So I'm never a conspiracy theorist where teams are trying to sabotage their rider. Webb and KTM will do everything they can to help each other so they can win the Supercross title next year. But it is going to be very interesting to see what direction this goes, because the rider is getting what he wants, got to change the bike, got to change the training program. That seems like the obvious choice, to always give the rider what he wants. But the real answer to that one is it depends. We won't have an answer until probably this time next year to see if this direction is the right one. Should be interesting. And by the way, KTM's going to have an all-new motorcycle, I believe, to race in 2022. So let's throw that angle in there as well. Thanks for listening to the Racer X Exhaust podcast, brought to you by Yoshimura. Go to yoshimura-rd.com. Also brought to you by Cardo Systems. Go to cardosystems.com. And brought to you by OnX Maps, onxmaps.com, or OnX Off-Road in the App Store. I'm Jason Weigandt. Thanks for listening. 2 races to go. We'll see if Dylan Ferrandis can wrap up the title this weekend at Fox Raceway. Jet Lawrence taking steps on his Yoshimura shod Honda to a title that sure seemed like it was going Justin Cooper's direction just 3 weeks ago. Whatever changed between Motos 1 and 2 at Unadilla absolutely flipped this series. Justin Cooper beats Jet Lawrence straight up for the Moto win in Moto 1, drops back to 4th in Moto 2, wins a Moto at Budds Creek, but Jet's been on the rise, and now he has a points lead, and it's looking good for him. Should be very pivotal this weekend. Cooper's going to have to get points back, has to, on a track where Jet has done very well. Thanks for listening. We'll see you next week.